Welcome to the battle of the decade, brick and mortar versus e-commerce. I'm Eric Boyd, Chief Marketing Officer at Matthews Retail Group, Incorporated. As we begin this presentation, I'll bring your attention to the chat box at the bottom left of your screen. If you have any questions during the presentation, please go ahead and type those in there. And at the end, we're going to answer as many as possible. If we're not able to get to your question, we'll definitely follow up with you directly after the presentation and make sure that we get the answers for you. As we begin, a little bit about Matthews Retail Group. We have clients throughout the U.S. and Canada representing properties nationwide. We also have a very large national pool of buyers, very large database, the largest in the nation, in fact. We specialize in retail shopping centers, triple net portfolio disposition. Are currently on track to close over 160 transactions per year. Collectively, we've closed $4.2 billion in transactions. We currently have 57 employees and are growing. Those employees are made up of our partners, brokers. We have a financial analysis department, a transaction management department, marketing, research, administration, operations, and IT. And we're really built on a structure of bringing in the very best professionals in each of those fields. So as every broker quarterbacks your deal as a client, they have all of these resources behind them to make sure that we create a competitive environment for your deal and to see your transactions through as quickly as possible and get you the best price possible as we move through our deal. Also have a great leadership team. Kyle Matthews, our chairman and CEO, Patrick Toomey is managing partner, and Rady Zlatoff, CFO, myself, Chad Kurz, and Jordan Uttal is our chief strategy officer. Presenting today is Jordan Uttal. He's going to be bringing us brick and mortar versus e-commerce. He's a partner and chief strategy officer of Matthews Retail Group and had spent some time in the technology sector. He is the architect of bringing marketing best practices and technology from other industries into brokerage. And the marketing systems and technology of Matthews Retail Group is partially responsible for the success that we drive for our clients. Jordan is going to review this morning or today the effects of e-commerce on in-store sales and make some predictions about the near-term and long-term future as it relates to retail investments. Welcome, Jordan.
Thank you, Eric, for the introduction, and thank you to all the attendees for taking some time out of their day to visit the webinar. Don't want to take up too much of your time, so I think we're going to jump right in. E-commerce versus brick and mortar, the title bout, everybody. So e-commerce is going to crush brick and mortar. How often have we heard that over the past decade? Doomsday for retail has yet to come, though. And in my opinion, it never will. I'll tell you why. In fact, many ways e-commerce has bolstered brick and mortar retail as opposed to taken from it, particularly those businesses that have embraced what is now called the omni-channel and using multiple different online and offline methods to drive in-store sales. Those businesses have really cracked the code on how to drive the in-store sales and really thrive through the next decade. Other businesses, they're following the leaders in some retail industries, while others have failed and or are failing. Question is, which tenant types are set to lease your retail space in the future? I'm going to run down winners, losers, and I think you're going to be surprised at some of the changes that we're seeing here in retail and what's on the horizon for the landlords moving forward. So I want to kick this off on a positive note. Let's start with consumer trends, the people actually making the purchases. Forbes magazine recently published an article regarding A.T. Kearney's omnichannel shopping preferences study. And the two main driving factors for individuals still wanting to make the purchase in-store, well, two of them were security and privacy. I kind of lumped those together. But the major one was the shopping experience. I mean, who knew? People still like to leave their house. They like to get out, go outside. Granted, once they get outside, they jump right back on their iPad or their iPhone. But they're at least outdoors. They're trying to meet up with friends. They're trying to enjoy the day, and they're doing that by going shopping. And this is leading, when they jump onto their devices, to billion-dollar business in what we call the omni-channel sector. If you look at some of these softwares, Hybris, NetSuite, IBM, Shopatron, these guys' whole job and goal in their technology is to help these retailers not just understand the front end, the online displays, as well as shopping cart purchases, but really inventory management. It's the back end. The retailers that are going to thrive are the ones that have the product that people want in the store that's near their house when they're online browsing. That's what's going to convert. So with omni-channel moving, I think the good news for retailers today is that online purchasing only accounts for 8% of all retail sales. That means 92% of sales are still done at a physical location, or at least I think that's even picked up at a physical location. I don't think that even accounts for it. I think even if you purchase online and pick it up in store, you're still part of that 8%. So this is a PwC survey, the annual consumer survey. They also mentioned in this survey that cars, gas, and groceries have yet to be penetrated by e-commerce. And these three items account for actually 50% of all retail sales across the board. I think another very positive consumer trend that we're seeing also from the PwC survey is what also is driving these online sales as opposed to privacy, security, and the shopping experience. They identified that people actually want their items now. Immediate need is a big driver of these, and I'll walk you through a scenario. It's Friday, college football's on. I'm going to go buy a brand new TV after work. Well, I kind of want it for Saturday. I'm going to spend my Friday night setting it up so that Saturday morning we're kicking off college football on the new big screen. Now that brings us to point number 2. 61% of people wanted to try on or see the item before they made the purchase. I'm not going to buy a $1,000 big screen TV without at least seeing the picture first. So these brick and mortars become the showroom for products that may even be purchased online from that same store at a later date. 65% of these individuals also wanted to avoid delivery fees. The whole fallacy that it's cheaper to buy online is completely out the window with Price Match. Best Buy, Walmart, Target, you show them an Amazon price that's $500 cheaper than what they're offering, they'll match it. And you've cut out delivery fees, and you've hit the immediate need. You're actually cheaper buying it in store. With that being said, there's other avenues that commerce is trying to penetrate with mobile. You've got m-commerce. Good news here. People are using this more as a buying instrument. They're not actually making the purchases over the phone. Again, a lot of this comes back to privacy and security. Social media is trying to also penetrate. Facebook recently launched their buy button, right? That allows people to buy directly off a post from a friend. But again, this doesn't solve the issues we just covered from the surveys of PwC and A.T. Kearney, where you're still having to order it, you're still having to pay shipping costs, you're still having to wait, you're not seeing the item for itself. So you're not solving for all these reasons that people are still buying in store. So I think the positive note to take away from all these surveys is the consumer trends of security, immediate need, actually want to see the item, delivery fees, and then, of course, the shopping experience. We just need to get out of the house sometimes. And, my father, he's the kind of guy who hates shopping, tells you shopping's a waste of time, doesn't really like spending money. You're kind of the old school guy that he just goes in, buys what he needs, and leaves, spends 5 minutes in a store. But for a guy who hates shopping, you take that guy to Home Depot, you spend the entire Saturday there, 5 hours, probably spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and leave happy as a clam. He doesn't even consider it shopping. He's preparing for his home improvement project tomorrow. So he considers it a productive use of time. At the end of the day, he's a shopper just like anybody else. So with round 1, I think we've come to a decision. Brick and mortar is going to take this round because the consumers have spoken. They want to buy the item in the store. They want it today, and they want to get it as soon as they can. So with round 1, now we're moving into round 2. This is where we get into the hairier side of where e-commerce might actually be making a dent. So if you Google the top 10 stores that will be closing essentially this year, you're going to get a lot of the same names that keep coming up. You're going to see Abercrombie & Fitch, Office Depot, Staples, Radio Shack, Sears, Macy's, JCPenney. But there's actually there's actually 46 tenants that are going to be closing up shop or closing stores this year, I should say, closing 10 or more locations over the next 12 to 36 months. And with that being said, 2 of those tenants are Walgreens and McDonald's, who are not in any kind of financial trouble. I mean, you hear about the Radio Shacks and the Barnes & Nobles. Walgreens just had their earning call. They beat earnings expectations significantly. Their stock jumped this week, yet they're still closing sites because their business is evolving. It has nothing to do with their financial stability. So if we look back at the tenants that we saw previously, I want to get and delineate between industry and tenant. Some of these industries are just better offline. You look at Staples, you look at Barnes & Noble, Office Depot. Going to the office supply store does not solve for the shopping experience. It's not something that's generally an immediate need. It's not something people are excited to buy. It's something you can order and have delivered. It is often looked at as a chore. Barnes & Noble, it's just more convenient to have 100 books on a 1-pound device as opposed to 100 2-pound books. You can't carry those everywhere. Radio Shack, I think it was just more the business model as opposed to the industry. And of course, you look at Sears, Macy's, Abercrombie, Arrow. Apparel's not going away. It's just changing. For every Abercrombie and Fitch, there's an H&M that's opening 375 locations last year. That's more than one a day. And they're looking to continue expansion this year. Forever 21 is continuing to expand. TJ Maxx wants to grow their store base by 60%. Some of that's home goods, but a lot of that's the TJ Maxx brand. So, I mean, with stores like that still coming on the market, I think Nordstrom Rack also is trying to expand. It's really just a trend. People just aren't wearing Abercrombie and Fitch anymore. It has nothing to do with e-commerce penetrating that industry. Now, unfortunately, that's not the case for every tenant we're here to talk about. There are industries that are going to take a hit from e-commerce. Let's start with drugstores. While they're financially strong, they're seeing their model need to change. You know, they're not the guys that are going to be selling the paper towels and dish soap anymore. I think you saw CVS recently purchased a Target Pharmacies, $2 billion purchase, because they said, you know what, we don't make money off the paper towel roll and the soap. We make money off prescriptions. Let Target do that. Let Target draw people in. Also, CVS recently cut cigarettes. Guess what? They're selling cigarettes again through Target. They're not technically selling them, but that draw is still there. So what drugstores are doing now is, as they focus less on the retail component, they're getting more into the service industry. They're trying these minute clinics, these healthcare clinics, these wellness centers. What they want to do is be able to provide kind of the doctor level service and then provide you the drugs right there. Imagine you have the common cold. You know you have the common cold. You know what medicine you need to solve the common cold problem, get your antibiotics, yet you have to drive to a doctor's office, park in lot C, get to building B, take 3 different elevators, find suite 601, sit there for 2 hours just to go to your doctor and tell him you have a cold. He agrees with you. He gives you a prescription. Then you drive to the pharmacy. Just go to the pharmacy, talk to the nurse practitioner. Within 10 minutes, you have your prescription. You're out the door with your antibiotics. They're seeing that there's a value to that service model, which is funny because when you start to look at the backfill for drugstores that go vacant, you have dollar stores that are going to rent it for likely half what the drugstore was paying. You have the multi-tenant strip option where you divide the 14,000 square foot up into smaller parts, 3,000, 6,000, 3,000, and you know it costs a lot of money to do, and you got to go re-tenant it, and now you've got a management component to the building. And the third are urgent cares. Slowly but surely, urgent cares are starting to take retail locations because they understand the service model need and the access needed for someone who just has the common cold. They don't want to go through that whole, going to the doctor experience that takes hours out of their day. Now, urgent care, growing at a rate of 20% per year because medical is a great field. They have great credit usually, and they sign healthy leases, close to where the drugstores are actually paying. So as you see the drugstore shift, there's another model that's about to be hit by e-commerce, and I think probably hit much harder. That's banks. You got your A credit banks, right? Safest property you can buy. Banks aren't going anywhere. Bank of America is not going to go down. That doesn't mean they're going to be a great tenant moving forward. Banks have been closing steadily since the rise of really mobile banking. As you can see here, Bank of America quotes stats, 17 million mobile banking customers currently using the app, 200,000 mobile deposits each day, 19 million in bills paid over a mobile device just in the first quarter of 2015, 625 million mobile customers logged into their accounts in Q1 2015, or logged in 625 million times. That tells you things are changing. And here's why. Look at the banking industry. It's a chore. No one calls their friends and says, hey, let's go to the bank today, I'm hungry. Let's go down and grab a bite to eat. Let's go to the shops, the stores, the mall. The bank was a chore. It was something your mom had to do while she left you in the car, had to run into the bank, right? You don't have to do that anymore. Do it in 15 minutes from your phone. Make deposits, move cash, transfer funds. There's no reason to walk into a bank any longer. So with those changes, Fifth Third Bank, I want to point out here, they announced of their 1,300 sites, they're going to be abandoning not only 30 new stores that they were in talks to build and had actual leases signed, but they're also going to be closing 100 sites of their 1,300. So this is going to lead. I mean, this just shows the cost of what it's going to cost them to close the sites. You've got the $75 million, $85 million as the cost they're going to eat. But the big number is the reduction in operating costs. They're going to save $60 million annually. $60 million annually, and they don't see themselves as losing any customers by closing these sites because the majority of them are doing it on mobile anyways. So with that being said, I think there's one more key tenet I want to highlight in the store closings model, and that was Radio Shack. While I don't necessarily see electronics as, an industry that's going to go away because of this, I just think they just need to be much smarter about how they attack their consumer base. Circuit City went down. Radio Shack technically went into bankruptcy, but American Wireless purchased 1,700 locations immediately out of bankruptcy and partnered with Sprint. Sprint is not a pure electronics retailer, but they're definitely in the electronic space, but they're also telecom. So I think you're going to see that these hybrid models are the ones that are really going to be sustained moving forward as they make money on other areas other than just their store. So round two, unfortunately, a little more doom and gloom with this. We're going to give this round to e-commerce. They've really penetrated baking. I think that's going to be a struggling tenant moving forward. Drugstores are moving into the service model, getting out of pure retail. And I think you're just seeing a change of the guard in some of these industries, while others are just really a change of tenant. So I think, again, round two, I think we're going to have to give that one to e-commerce. But round three is probably one of the more exciting rounds that I'm looking forward to. And that's because we're going to start talking about the tech invasion. Now, if you take a look at this next slide here, you've got Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile. These were like your early telecom stores that started their retail sites. And I believe Verizon just opened their third, what do they call that site? I think it's a consumer experience store. It's like 20,000 square feet, and it's in 3rd Street Promenade was the one they just opened. They're looking to expand that model even more out of their little stores because they're finding that, again, service is becoming a key component of the change in retail. And we'll get into exactly who's doing that the right way in a minute. But if you look at the bottom here, you've got Zappos, Amazon, Bonobos, Google, Microsoft, all these guys trying to penetrate the physical world from their online model. And the reason they're doing this, the success of probably the greatest retail tenant right now, Apple. Apple formed their first store in 2001. 2003 was the first time they eked out a profit from their brick and mortar locations. By 2007 and the launch of the iPhone, that was their first year they hit $1 billion in profits. Little background on Apple's retail revenue. As you can see, in 2012 it accounted for $18 billion. 2013, 20, and 2014, 21, steady growth in their retail revenue. But I think the real impactful number that I want to focus on here is their actual sales per square foot. If you look at the average sales per square foot for an Apple store, they're at $6,000 a square foot on the average, sometimes hitting $10,000 a square foot. And this is compared to a successful grocery store is doing $600 a square foot. You don't think Apple has plans to expand their brick and mortar presence? They have such a margin. Shoot, they could go to 40,000 square feet, still put another $350 a square foot into operating costs, and still be higher than $600 a square foot, which technically is profitable in the retail sector. So there's a lot of growth that's going to be coming from Apple. And you know who's looking at this? All the other tech firms. Even more important, the foot traffic. In 2002, Apple had 2.3 million visitors at their retail sites. By 2010, 233.3 million visitors. Anyone who owns a shopping center and gets Apple, every one of your other tenants is very excited about that because they know that people come to those stores. And you're going to start seeing, again, who's looking at this? Apple, Google, Microsoft. They all compete, not Apple, sorry, Google, Microsoft, Amazon. These guys all compete on a one-to-one level, and they're seeing the success of Apple and their brick and mortar sites. They're trying to break in. They're just figuring out the best way to do it. So the requirements for success for a company like Amazon, let's talk about it. Faster delivery, in-store pickup, and they've launched their new phone. The reason Apple's iPhone's so successful is partly in due to their brick and mortar sites. The Fire phone needed to compete with that. And that Fire phone that Amazon launched is something that they're going to want people to come in the store and learn from. So I think if you go back one slide, Amazon had talks to launch their first brick and mortar site in Manhattan last year. Now they leased a bunch of the office space up above. I still think they do have plans for that. It just hasn't had to come to fruition just yet. But with that being said, they're the perfect candidate for a retail location. And here's why. The Fire phone, as I explained, competes with the iPhone, competes with the Samsung S6 and things like that. So you're going to need a store, a consumer experience site where people can come in and learn how to use the Fire to the best of their ability. Second, Amazon hasn't even been a retailer until recent. They were a broker between a retailer and a consumer. They were just the broker. They want to be a pure retailer. They've started Amazon Basics, Amazon Elements, Prime Pantry. That all competes with brands like Kirkland, that's owned by Costco. And third, I think more importantly, when compared to Costco, Costco makes all their money on their membership. That's why they can sell things so cheap. Well, you want to know what Amazon's #1 business initiative is? Get more Prime membership signups. One way to really do that is create a local store, distribution facility we can call it, but put that instead of the middle of Kansas in a retail hub in the middle of a great suburb. And then don't let people in without their Prime membership. I guarantee you're going to have a ton of signups that day from people who want to come visit the Amazon store. So, Amazon, it's one of those companies that people look at. They're this big conglomerate. But there's one thing I want that you may not know about Amazon. They've never made a profit. In 20 years of operating, they've always lost money. Good news for landlords, because in my eyes, this means they're willing to sink a bunch of money into leasing up space, even if it doesn't make them money. And for you credit investors out there, Amazon, the nonprofit company, they're BBB+ credit, better than Walgreens, who had incredible earnings this year. Just wanted to point that little fact out. But I think Amazon is one of those people that you're eventually going to see taking up a Costco location or a Walmart location. You're going to be able to order your goods, go in and pick them up, and they'll upsell you on 20 other things when you walk in the door, things you didn't think you needed, things you didn't remember you needed. Not to mention, signing up for Prime opens you up to their streaming web service, video service, which competes with Netflix. There's multiple other business avenues that are going to be attractive for them to get a brick and mortar location to help drive those other business initiatives. So I think with the explosion of tech and seeing that companies that have made billions of dollars online, billions of dollars, are trying to break into the physical world is a great sign for retailers, for landlords. It's saying that people that have done it well online are saying we need physical presence. It's important. So round 3, with Apple's contagious trend and basically telecom, e-commerce, and the rest of the tech world wanting to follow suit, we're going to give this round to brick and mortar. I think tech is, while it's not here today, Apple is. I think in the next few years you're going to start signing leases with Google and Amazon and Microsoft. I think they opened their 6th store just this month. A couple malls in Pennsylvania have a few of them. They always want to go right across from an Apple store. Imagine that. Round 4, This is an easy round. This is a gimme. This is for all my landlords out there who are saying, Jordan, I have a vacancy today. I'm not calling Amazon today. Let's talk about just some brick and mortar store openings. Quickly go through a large list, and you can see this list. I think we have a better posting of it on our blog. So you can visit it there, but real quickly, take a look at, you're looking at Ross, CVS, Dollars, 99 cents, Circle K, Pantry, 7-Eleven. If we keep going through this list, you got Fitness, DaVita, Tractor Supply, UPS, keep going, KFC, McDonald's, Taco Bell. McDonald's was closing. They're also opening. So is Walgreens, O'Reilly, Papa John's, Buffalo Wild Wings. Food is a major sector. Food and apparel, and if you look, those are the guys that are always new trends. There's Blaze Pizza, there's Sheetz gas stations. Chipotle was a new tenant once upon a time. Chick-fil-A is, coming out of the woodworks. So you've got these guys in certain industries that are always coming up with new concepts and always try to expand and open new locations. But I think you see out there's all over the board companies that are going to be opening sites this year. So again, you can go to our site to see a more robust list, look at it a little closer, and see if any of those guys might fit the bill for your current vacancy or retail site that you're looking to build. Round 5, who will survive, who will thrive, who's unaffected? So I think we covered a lot of numbers, a lot of tenant names in the beginning. I think you saw the success of some of these. I think a lot of people didn't realize, Amazon not making money, the explosive growth of Apple, and where all those trends are moving and how good that is going to be for landlords moving forward. But let's look at some of the consumer trends and what people are saying in terms of the people that are actually making the in-store purchases, and relate that back to why these industries would be affected by e-commerce using those consumer trends. So if you look, who's affected? Banking, drugstores, bookstores have already been affected. Video rentals has already gone to streaming. They're better business models online. Everyone loves going to a Barnes & Noble, but when you're going on vacation, nobody loves schlepping 20 books around. It's just not convenient. Same thing, if you have kids, it's easier to have every Dora Explorer episode on your iPad than it is to carry, 5 volumes and 5 seasons in your bag. So that's already made the shift. Drugstores, they're doing a great job of getting into service because selling paper towels and dish soap, it's just there's better ways to get it. There's bigger stores to go to. That's why CVS made the move to get in the back of Target. Let them do retail. Let us do prescriptions. Banking. Banking doesn't hit on any of the consumer trends. There's no shopping experience. No one enjoys going to the bank. It's a chore. There's no, other than privacy and security, no one has the immediate need. They can do it. If there's an immediate need, it's quicker to do it from your phone. So, they're not hitting on any of the things that would get people to want to come to the store and make the purchase. So I think when you look at the consumer trends, you look at the industry that you're the landlord of, you can see very clearly why people don't come to the site. Office supplies. No one likes going shopping for paper, right? It's easier just if you have a set order of this is how much toner and paper I use every month, just set that delivery on repeat. No point in going to the store. You need one pen because you absolutely need a pen. You can't wait for the delivery. Odds are you're stepping into a convenience store and buying a pen from 7-Eleven along with a Gatorade. You're not going to Staples to do it. So those are who are affected. That's just a few of the industries. If you're a landlord, if you want, call me. You can tell me what your tenant is, and we can walk through why we think e-commerce either will or will not affect it. I'm happy to do that with you guys on an individual basis. So if we move to who's unaffected, well, medical, as we saw, drugstores getting out of retail, moving into service. They want to provide the nurse practitioner there, and that's a very convenient model that I think will be very successful for them. Hence why urgent care is moving into retail space and signing very good leases. Food. Food is something that I believe it's one of the 3 things you need to live. So 3 times a day they have a chance to make a sale to a consumer. I always laugh when someone tells me that their A-credit bank is 100% safer than the, Carl's Jr. down the street, that I have store sales proving that it's just killing the competition. But of course the franchisee guarantee isn't safe. What's not safe is e-commerce is going to devour the bank business in terms of brick and mortar, and food just keeps expanding. So another thing maybe to keep in mind moving forward, and give me a call if you want to talk about what I think about food and why I think it's a safe investment. It's literally a necessity you need to live. And I doubt Amazon will ever deliver me a pizza hot and fresh from their Kansas distribution facility here in Manhattan Beach, California. I'd rather get it from the guy down the street that has a physical location within 10 minutes from my house. Gas and auto. I think there's actually laws around buying a car online without having some sort of physical showroom. Hence Tesla, they have a big showroom, one car, and then a bunch of computer screens. Clothing, well, people enjoy that shopping experience as well as they want to try it on. Yeah, I'm this size in this brand, but I'm this size in that brand, and I won't know until I go actually fit into that pants if they're going to fit. Convenience. If I want a pen, a Gatorade, a 12-pack of beer, something, just one of a lottery ticket, I'm not ordering that. It's not a scheduled delivery. I'm running into the convenience store. And a fun fact for you guys, convenience stores actually make up 30% of all retail sites. There's 150,000 of them, and they continue to expand because it's a great business model, unless we start banning tobacco. That might have an effect. Again, we covered car sales, gas, auto, and auto also consumes like Jiffy Lube, the service. But Uber's not delivering oil changes yet. Neither is Amazon. People still go to the Jiffy Lube and get that done, or go to the car dealership and get that done. So I think, again, if you look at consumer trends, and then you compare that to your industry and say, does my industry hit on any of these 5 consumer trends, you'll know you have a viable location. If not, you might want to start questioning, is e-commerce really going to make a move on the current tenant that I'm the landlord of? So as we move past who's unaffected, I want to talk about one key tenant that actually did a great job in the omni-channel. This is a pure retailer, Home Depot, my dad's favorite. So they actually grew online sales last year by $1 billion, which is a huge metric considering they were only doing $2.5 billion the year before. So they're up to $3.5 billion now. The key metric that I want you guys to focus on, and this is an article that came out early July, so it's recent, is that Home Depot said 33% of those online purchases were in-store pickup. The people made that purchase from Home Depot because they actually had the inventory at a physical site near the purchaser. And that's going to be the key when we get back into the omni-channel and companies like NetSuite, Hybris, Shopatron. That's what they're helping these retailers solve. And the retailers that can best control inventory and put inventory into brick and mortar locations where they can predict that buyers want that type of product. I mean, you don't really need tractors here in Manhattan Beach. That Home Depot shouldn't be selling, tractor parts or anything to do with those types of things. That belongs out more in farm country. So the better they get at predicting what sales are being made at what locations and then directing that inventory towards those locations, the better retailers they're going to be. So we have that article, I think, on our blog as well. You're welcome to check it out, read through it. I thought that was a big win for Home Depot. And again, you don't think Amazon looks at that? You don't think they're out there saying, if we had a physical location, we could drive 33% more sales to our site because someone could actually come pick it up at our huge 100-acre facility that we beat out Walmart for because we signed a better lease. And I think to really sum up the whole match and really award a winner, and I think everyone on this call is going to be happy to hear it. I think the winner of this match is brick and mortar. I think all in all, other than a few industries that we kind of pointed out why they're going to be affected, brick and mortar's proven to be a more effective piece than any other retail component that these guys are working on, including their e-commerce sector on the existing retailers. And here's a quote from Steve Jobs on the Apple website. This is probably the most innovative company in our history. It's one of the highest sought after CEOs, probably one of the most innovative CEOs in our history. And the one big innovation that he attributes as the greatest strategic move of their career is going back to the old ways of just opening a good old brick and mortar location. And as we've seen since 2001, they've gone from those 23 stores to over 430. They've gone from 2.3 million visitors to 233 million visitors annually, and they're doing over $6,000 a square foot in sales. That's going to continue to grow, and I mean, Steve Jobs, the visionary, he had it right. And you're going to see Google and all these other guys starting to follow suit. So again, I think it's good news for brick and mortar. I think the consumer trends are very positive, and I think the retailers that are able to kind of harness the omni-channel experience and really can map back to those consumer trends are going to continue to be successful moving forward and in the future. Again, thanks everybody for joining, and look forward to speaking with most of you after the webinar.
Thank you, Jordan. Appreciate it. A lot of great information. There's tons and tons of questions that have been coming in throughout, and I've tried to grab a few of them, but I'm going to throw it to you. I don't know how much time we have here, only just a few minutes, but somebody was asking about Home Depot, one of your last slides. Are they the only tenant that's really doing it right? They talked about the omni-channel and using online to drive.
Most of the big guys are actually doing a pretty good job right now. Target, I don't know if you guys heard today, or no, yesterday, Amazon did I think it was like their 20th birthday sale, and immediately Walmart counteracted with an even bigger sale on their online site where you can go pick up in store. So Walmart, Target, Best Buy's doing a great job. The price match is killer. And, of course, Home Depot, I mean, they're out there doing a great job. A lot of the apparel guys, they're testing out software where you can kind of try things on online before you get into the store. So everyone's kind of embracing this omni-channel, but there's definitely some retailers that are doing it much better, and I think it's the bigger, more capitalized retailers at this point. The drugstores are actually doing a pretty good job with their apps and rolling out the wellness centers. But again, I think the real winners are some of the big box tenants that are out there right now that are heavily investing in this space.
News of McDonald's closings is huge right now. You just mentioned it. This person says they own 2 of them. How can they know if their properties are on the list, and who should they be looking for as a new tenant? Or is it just time to sell?
Lucky for them, those 700 stores are global. So that is one thing I want them to take note of. That wasn't 7. That's global locations. You also saw they were opening locations. But that's still to say they are going to be shutting down some sites here in the U.S. They've had some slow in-store sales. Truthfully, I would recommend they contact Gary Cho here with Matthews Retail Group. He specializes in the QSR space and would probably have some more in-depth knowledge on exactly who's closing what, when, and where when it comes to those tenants. I'd be happy to pass along that info.
Yep, sure. All of these questions, as I mentioned, we're going to follow up with all of them, and even if Jordan isn't the right person to answer those questions, we'll make sure the right broker within Matthews Retail Group gets back to you directly. So I know that we're not going to get to a lot of them. I think we can take probably 2 or 3 more just really quickly. Somebody's actually asking about drone delivery. I don't know. I know you didn't talk about drones, but there's technology. There's they said we've heard about Domino's and Amazon planning to do delivery by drones. Do you have anything on that and how that might affect physical presence? I just bring it up because I mentioned Amazon.
I'm very curious to see what the FAA does with all this and people shooting drones. I mean, you're going to see drones flying through the sky with a huge package. Some guy's going to shoot it out of the sky and take that package. I mean, it's not the safest way to deliver. I think we've already had articles where people are doing that. They felt their privacy was invaded. It was over their land, technically. So there's a lot of questions here with the drone delivery. Good news for Domino's. Delivery's been in pizza since before e-commerce. You didn't need e-commerce to order a pizza and have it delivered. Domino's just finding a way to get it instead of 30 minutes, get it there in 15, maybe up to your window if you're in a high-rise or something. But other than that, I'm interested to see where this drone phenomenon goes, because I feel like if we just cloud the sky with drones, there's going to be some pushback from the government. You're going to have heavy government regulation here. This one's going to be a slow mover.
I don't know if this, all right, thanks. I don't know if this question is serious or not, but they're saying, can you sell my bank and get me into fast food? Anything but McDonald's, they say.
Is there anybody internal on this webinar? That sounds like a question that might have come from probably the banking specialist at Matthews Retail Group. Anyways, if it is a real question and not coming from one of our guys, yes, absolutely, we can move you out of a bank and into a food tenant, because obviously, as we discussed, food is a necessity to life, and they're going to be around forever. But with that being said, in that move, odds are we'll be able to make you a lot of money in the process as well. But give me a call. We can discuss in more detail.
Just one more question, and a lot of these I don't know if you know about, but somebody's asking, are the drugstore leases with their change of business model going to continue to be long-term, guaranteed, and with a high probability of renewal?
Odds are the sites that they're actually implementing these wellness centers in are sites that they are committed to. With that being said, Walgreens recently announced on their earnings call this week that they're going to pursue grocery store sites. So you have CVS just bought Target. Walgreens is now saying they want to go pursue maybe Albertsons pharmacies and get their name back there. I mean, they're really seeing that retail is more of a cost than it is a benefit, and they want to find a way to get just the 1,000 square feet in the back that sells the prescriptions into a prominent location as opposed to a 14,000 square foot 7-Eleven that loses them money, right? So they want to eliminate the 14,000 square feet and keep that last 900 square feet in the back and put that into a major retailer like a Target or a grocery store.
All right, great. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, everybody who's been on the call today. Please look for your email. We're going to be sending out the recording of this presentation. Also, as you close out the session, there's a little survey where you can give us some feedback on the presentation today. Let us know what you thought. Give us any other comments, any last-minute questions that you have. We'll have somebody follow up with you on those. And if you have any topics that you'd like us at the Matthews Retail Group to cover in the future or want some more information about any of these things, do visit MatthewsRetailGroup.com. Check out our blog. Jordan has a blog on there on the same subject, and also some more information about the tenants' openings and closings, so you can see that there. Thank you again. Have a great day.